So China does not need your Iraqi dinar, your Vietnamese dong, your rupiah. They don't need your Zimbabwe. They don't need your currency. My ladies, good morning, Nick. My ladies here. Are you open to having a chat? Why don't you call in real quick? But Tom says, but what is their motive? Why do they want to keep it and not return it? Tom, you ever heard of theft, stealing? They just want to take your money. Hopefully my ladies will be able to chime in about this private exchange stuff. What is their motive? Why do they want to keep the currency, not return it? Well, Tom, did they tell you that they're going to give you your exchange? They're going to give you your currency back in like a week or 2 weeks or a month? What was the deal with that, Tom? I'm just curious. I don't know, Tom. And by the way, if you signed an NDA and you haven't received your currency, you might as well consider the NDA null and void at this point, especially if they told you verbally. All right. If they told you verbally, Tom, my ladies, is that you, Anonymous? Just hit 1 if that's you. Just say yes. They haven't asked for it back yet. Okay. Godson says $3.22 plus 20%, 2017. Okay. I don't know who told you that, Godsons. No idea. Haven't asked for it back yet. All right, Tom, here's your goal. This is your goal. This is your mission, Tom, if you choose to accept it. Tom, you need to ask them. Okay, my ladies, I'll talk to you in a sec. Tom, you need to ask for your currency back. Say, what is the procedure if I would like to have return of my currency? Just say, Tom, look, it's none of their business. Just say, I have an emergency and I need access to my currency. Can I get it back? Now, here's what probably happened. They probably took everybody's currency. They probably didn't even label it. They just took it and they probably are holding it somewhere. Most likely they're holding it. Now, if I took your money, I'd probably keep it. That's just me. I'm just saying but no, I'm just kidding. Why would they hold your currency? They're probably going to spend it, Tom. I just don't trust it. I don't trust this. Godson says the IMF. Okay, Godsons, what's the name of the article? Godsons is saying 322, 20%, 2017. If you have an article, I'd like to see it. All right, my ladies, let me go ahead and take you real quick. But Tom, read your NDA real quick and see if you can get it back from. I'm at the point of asking for it back. Tom, here's what I want you to do. I'll go ahead and read look, I have no fear of anybody calling me up, so I'll go ahead and read out my private number. I'll go ahead and do that real quick. Anybody wants to test me, just go ahead and test me. I don't even care. I'll read out my phone number right on air. Phone number is 602-783-1049. That's my number. Seriously. So, yeah, Godsons. What we need, Godsons, we need the article headline. So if you go to the IMF, like for instance on this page right here, it says types of historical bonds. That would be the name of the article, or it would see up in the title historical bond fraud. So Godsons, I just need the name of the article that you got that from, and I want to see an official site, Godsons. I don't want to see a guru thing. I want to see something from the IMF that says that, because so far, Godsons, unfortunately, all I've seen is just stuff coming from different guru sites. Okay, but I'll keep checking this. Okay, all right. So this should be my ladies. Let me go ahead and make sure. Hello. You might be muted on your own phone, my ladies. I just unmuted you. Let me see if I'm still connected. I'm not hearing you.
Sorry, Nick. I'm technically challenged.
Oh, that's
this iPhone is just ridiculous.
Oh,
apples belong on trees.
Don't use an Don't use an iPhone. I use a flip phone. I'm almost 35. I use a flip phone. I'm proud to use that thing. Yeah.
Let me tell you, Nick, I have been a BlackBerry gal for years and years and years. And BlackBerry no longer exists, unfortunately. So when my last BlackBerry bit the dust, they talked me into this. And the only reason I actually got it is it's a larger screen and I can see the mouse print.
Yeah.
But anyway.
well, just get it from Amazon. You can get it from, listen to me, the cell phone I got is an old flip phone. It was $400 from Sprint. I got it for $20 on Amazon. I bought a couple of them. So you can find your old cell phones on Amazon or eBay for super cheap. So look for them for like between $15 and $50. Literally, you can get them that cheap. Your old BlackBerry, whatever you want. and just.
Oh, I know. I can get the phone. It's the software, and if you read, they're doing away with the BlackBerry service and the BlackBerry software altogether.
Okay.
So that's where the problem's coming in. I use my phone to call. I use my phone to text. I don't read email.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure this phone does a plethora of very cool things.
Okay.
I don't know how to do it, nor do I care.
Right.
I use it for a dial tone.
Sure.
Anyway, Nick, I don't want to become combative during this call, but I do have a couple questions that I wanted to ask you.
Sure.
I did a call last night. I spoke to 696 people on the phone.
Right.
And I don't know, 60 or 70 were on YouTube because I didn't get the link up in time. It took me a long time to figure out how to do that live streaming.
Sure.
Thank goodness for a 15-year-old son with more common sense than his mother.
Right.
And and I thought it went very well, the call that I did. Nick, I don't subscribe to any of the talking and the chatter that's out there, and I don't subscribe to any of the so-called gurus.
That's good.
I just don't. Well, I never have, Nick. If you ever took a minute to just look through archives of anything, I don't have a website.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want one either. I just started a Facebook page.
Okay, cool.
Because of this huge green finance, and that is really important to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's in my scope right now.
I just told everybody you're on the call listening. By the way, I just let them know that you're listening to me right now. Because I actually don't. I'm not. Just I might sound weird. I'm not familiar with you. I just heard about you the other day, but I'm not familiar with your call or anything.
Well, you're not going to be familiar because I'm not out in there. All right. Now, I had a private Skype room, and recaps asked to join, and I'm cool with them, and they've always been good with me. And that's that. Everything I posted, I never, ever, Nick, opened my mouth. My mouth would never write a check my ass can't cover. Okay. I will never say something unless I can back it up. Not with a simple comment link, not with a blog post from someone else. And I'll back it up with white paper. Mm-hmm. I'll back it up with reports. And this is just who I am. I take great responsibility. When Frank invented this My Ladies and gave this to me, and I saw the following and the people that were following for common sense logic, I automatically have a responsibility to those people. And that's heavy, and that weighs heavy on my chest. So I'm very careful to be sure that I don't abuse the respect that these people give me.
Sure.
And this is why I'm dialing into you. When I got off the phone last night, I have a little tiny Skype room, Nick. I've got 9 people in it. We all talk about the same things. Mm-hmm. That's it. When I got off the phone, I sent them out into Dinar land. And there was a couple of people talking that said they were more depressed than they'd ever been in their lives after listening to my call.
Wonder why.
I've never opened a call to Dinar land before ever. I would do calls with my room, and I think I released maybe 2 or 3 calls in the early part of 2015. That was when I was still following Iraq, and I thought the answer was with Iraq, which, now hindsight being 2020, I realized how silly and ridiculous that was. But whatever. I have a responsibility. I feel terrible that this particular person is so depressed.
Right.
A few other people have said they've never felt so bad. Because if you listen to my call, you'll see I can tell everybody, I'm never going to tell them the dinar is not going to revalue because my ass can't cover that check. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they will or they won't. What I did tell them is there will never, ever be 800 numbers. Mm-hmm. There will never be contract rates, China rates, private rates,
Mhm.
Abbott Downing has nothing to do with anything. I gave them the name of the attorney that I spoke to in Wells Fargo. See, I don't mess around down at the executive level.
Right.
I went right to the top and I talked to the head of the legal department, who's also registered with the Bar Association as the lead counsel of Wells Fargo.
Nice.
And I picked up the phone and I called there. And then I called the same gal on the East Coast. She's in Philadelphia, and she's the second in control, and she handles the legal matters on this coast. And I said to them, I want you to have a look at what is being said about Wells Fargo and Abbott Downing. And I
Mhm.
want you to explain to me
Yes.
how you are allowing this to take place.
Mhm.
And at first they were, well, send me the emails and send me this, blah, blah, blah. And I sent it all, but I didn't let them off the hook all that easy. And I stayed on them about it. And I said, and I want to know, if you do not say something,
Mhm.
and then you are compliant.
Right.
So by you not saying anything, then you're telling me that these guys are telling the truth.
Right.
And now you're going to have a bigger problem since you sent out
Mhm.
many to all your clients in their statements a notice that said, Iraqi dinar, bad news, stay away.
You're talking about that. I believe what you're talking about is the Wells Fargo statement by, about the Iraqi dinar. I have it right here, actually, while you're talking. I think I just pulled it up.
Yes.
Yeah, that. Okay.
Yes.
I've got that on the
Mhm.
screen so people can see that while you're talking.
So, of course, they said they had nothing, and they're looking into it, and they're going to do something about this and this kind of verbiage. So I did explain this to my listeners last night. But I'm cautious, Nick, not to say it's not going to revalue, because I don't know that. What I did tell them that I'm going to put on my Facebook page, this is an old study that I did a long time ago. The IMF actually has a blueprint for how a country drops the zeros.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Iraq is not unique. They're not the first country to do this.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's usually followed by a devaluation.
Right.
But all of the letters of intent and everything that they've put up and everything that they are doing is all written as their original letters of intent were back in 2008.
Right.
So they're doing this already, taking the steps. They need to restructure their currency.
Sure.
And I told folks, this is why they have a 50,000 note. They will bring that 100,000 note out.
Yes, they
It
will.
has nothing to do with for inner trading. You can go to any currency dealer and buy a 50,000 note if you so choose.
Sure.
They brought in the 50, they're going to bring in the 250, and they're going to bring in the 500. And not because they invented this idea, because this is what's in the blueprint with the IMF. The Laris just did a drop the zeros a few months ago.
Right.
They followed the exact same procedure, Nick.
Mm-hmm. Not all that is
So
is
anyway,
that's a redenomination, though. That doesn't actually change the value. So let's make sure we're
well,
on.
it
We're on
did
the same
change the
page.
value because they devalued. But the point I'm making
Right.
is you don't drop the zeros and jump to $5.
No.
It
you don't.
doesn't work
No,
like
there's
that.
sometimes the currency does devalue. You do tend to see a loss in
Well, you
some
need
cases.
to devalue because you need to, when you drop zeros
Right.
and you restructure your currency, the main purpose is you're trying to close the parallel market gap. The black market, the parallel market, normally a currency, and when you read and you see them saying they're going to raise the value against the dollar,
Right.
this is what they're talking about. This doesn't mean they're going to go to $3 or $5. There's a parallel market in all of these countries that have very low valued currency.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to close that gap. Iran is talking about coming to one rate. What does that mean? $5? Iran has never passed 2 cents a day in its life since the beginning of time with Iran, ever. And Iran is not even anchored to the dollar in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And they've done just fine. Iran's been on the euro since day one.
Right.
But whatever. So this is what Iraq is talking about. They're going to close that gap. And whatever the parallel market's at 14 something right now. the official is, I think, 13 and change or whatever it is, or 12 and change. I don't even follow it, Nick, to be honest. You probably have that number better. But the parallel market is 13 and change. So when they do this, they're going to come to that at least. That's the whole point of doing this, is to close that gap and have one rate that you're going to bring to Forex. Can't bring to come to Forex with all these different rates. It doesn't work like that. Mm-hmm. That's just how our monetary system works. So anyway, in explaining this to people, they became depressed. You know, they want to follow and believe. Some of them need this hopium, and who am I to judge? If this is how they choose to live their life, Nick, is this not their choice?
It is, but we do also have a responsibility to tell them the truth. And when they start mentioning,
yes, I have a responsibility to arm them with facts.
Right. Nothing about call centers or fake rates or
there will never be a call center. And 800 rates, every bank has an 800 number already. They're not coming up with a new one to exchange the dinar.
Right. See, if sites would just post the truth, everything would be fine. But the problem is, and it started years ago with James Wolfe, which you know who James Wolfe, right? You know that.
I do.
And for people who don't know James Wolfe, let me play a clip of his voice so you do know.
Reach my cell phone, leave a message with your name and number. Keep it short, keep it brief, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks.
Okay, so that is Adam Montana, also known as James Wolfe. He still goes by that name.
You know, you absolutely killed me. I just cannot get what I'm so sorry.
Oh.
I just cannot get what your MO is. Why? Why? I just want to know why.
Okay. Well, I had people contacting me recently asking about Dr. Clark, and they were trying to get me to, they actually thought I was going to get him on the call. I was like, I'm not going to get some fake person on my call. No, I'm good. I'm here to just kind of go over some of the stuff. And I never even really analyzed it. I was on Dinar Daily for a little bit, and I noticed every time something new would come out with Dr. Clark, we'd have to jump on that and say, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen in March. It's not going to happen in September. And so I kind of spent a little bit of time on Dinar Recaps this morning, just going over a few things. And sure enough, I was right. Now, I like it when Dinar Recaps actually posts some factual links. Like if they translate something and maybe it's not 100%, hey, that's fine. You know, they're getting information out. But if they start posting some guru stuff, that's obviously like I told the other gentleman who, unfortunately, he said he listened to Bruce from the Big Call for 3 years, twice a week. To me, that's a complete waste of time. You could be doing much more productive stuff for your house, for your home. You could be doing nice stuff around your house. You could be working. You could be helping others. But sitting in,
is that for you to determine, Nick?
No, it's not to me to determine, but it is a waste of somebody's life to sit there and listen to the hopium. Especially,
is that for you to determine?
I can make that assumption that a person is wasting their time if I want, because I have that. You
certainly can. And I've told everybody, you need to take your internet life and really limit it to a really, really small part of your actual life.
Exactly.
That's what you need to do.
Well, you said you have a 13-year-old.
Totally.
You have a 13-year-old. He's probably on Facebook or his cell phone
15.
much of the time. Oh, 15. Probably on his cell phone most. I mean, it's at the point now where I see a family at a restaurant eating dinner, and the parents are sitting there, but all the kids are sitting on their phones, and nobody's really talking. The parents might be, but
that doesn't take place in my home. I'll slap that sofa across the street.
That's good.
That doesn't happen here.
Yeah.
I pay your bill, so when I speak, that comes first, and everything else comes second. Because you piss me off, I don't pay the bill.
There you go.
But you don't have a phone.
But I think the best thing that you and I can do as a service to the Dinar. Oh, hold on a sec. People are already calling me. Stop calling me during my live call. I've got some people. Yeah, because I gave out my phone number. I'm not afraid, but I just like to be able to provide translated Central Bank of Iraq documents. So I actually am going to, while we're talking, I'll pull those up, but I found something quite interesting. So the Central Bank of Iraq has been translating certain documents in English and Arabic, but they did something interesting. What they did was they translated this article, and I'm going to go ahead and pull it up right now. They translated this recent article into English. It was originally Arabic, but here's the thing. The Arabic version is 29 pages. The English version is only 23. So they took out all of these pages So what went ahead did, I paid a translator to professionally give me a translation of these missing pages. So I feel that's like a good service to the dinar community, to go out of my way, spend some money to get that done. So that's what I like. That's what I like doing.
This, Nick, in 2015. I have a partner in real life. She's my business partner. We've been friends and business partners for years upon years upon years. She's from the Middle East. This is where she was born. She's here in the States and has been for a great number of years.
Mm-hmm.
We came across a PDF. I went to actually the Chamber of Commerce and a speech that was done in maybe, I want to say 8 or 9, okay?
Right.
That was done by Dr. Shabibi.
Okay.
Where he was crystal clear
Right.
about the value of the dinar and what's going to take place.
Mm-hmm.
There was I didn't know this existed. I discovered this in 2015.
Are you talking about the video where he's in Washington?
Yeah.
Okay.
But besides that, there's a PDF. There is a 12-page Arabic PDF.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2015, I tortured her and had her translate that for me, paragraph by paragraph by paragraph.
Hmm.
And it clearly says what they're going to do. It did reference 2017 is when they hope to begin the structuring of their currency. And since it's 16 and their currency hasn't been restructured yet, although they are taking steps,
Right.
I kind of want to think this PDF might be accurate.
Sure. I'd be happy to take a look at it and find out where the original source is. Maybe we can find a way to track
the
back
original source is Dr. Shabibi. It's the Central Bank of Iraq.
Right. Yeah. So it must have been one of those PDFs downloaded from the CBI, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's
yes,
okay.
yes.
So that's like the
we
ones
have
I've
the
been
original court. We had the original. We got it from the. I got it from the CBI.
Perfect.
But
yeah, that's
great. The new CBI. I thought that was a building that's being put up somewhere. Oh, that looks like a building that's going up in Bahrain. I thought, oh my goodness, what is he doing with that? Okay.
Oh, the ones I've got right there. Yeah. Oh no.
Yeah, that's the new CBI.
Well, yeah.
I just caught it out of the corner of my eye.
Yeah. The interesting
anyway.
thing is, so the Arabic version of this document is 29 pages and has a whole bunch of more financial information. The English version is only 23. So that's what.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why have they not translated the whole document?
And what's missing from it after you have it translated? Did you compare side by side? What's missing?
I do. Let me show you, actually. So it starts off, I don't know if you can see my screen. In fact, maybe I'll try to do it side by side so everybody can see, but it's good while I have these open. So it starts off looking all like it's translated normal, the table of contents.
Yeah.
Opening messenger from the governor, introduction. It starts off almost looking identical. You get to page 6, it's still on track. Page 7, key features of strategic operations, everything's there. And we start getting a little further. Page 8, there's a little bit of a difference there. Okay, so page 10 is page 9 on the Arabic version. So there's a little difference there. And then we start
Wait a
getting
minute,
into page 11.
Nick. Wait, stop.
Yeah.
Are you showing me the plan, the strategic plan? Is that what you're showing me here?
Yes, and I'm going to show you that there's missing pages to it.
Oh, okay.
So do you see it right now? Now, this is the strategic plan.
Yeah, I see it. I'm very familiar with this plan.
Sure. Now, people didn't know there was 2 versions. So this is the 2016 to 2020 for people watching. And you can see, okay, we're on page 10, and they both look the same. Now, look what happens. Now, the Arabic version continues onwards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pages different. And then it starts to match up with the English one. So there's 9 pages that are on the Arabic one. So I actually got those translated. And I'm going to be putting those out. I think I could probably show a preview of that real quick for everybody. I'd be happy to do that. But yeah, it's just so interesting.
No, your thing is
happened.
hanging up anyway. It's having you're slowing down. I'm not when you were saying 7, 8, 9, 10, the screen. Okay, now that screen is changing. The screen wasn't changing at that moment.
Right.
But that's okay.
Right.
So, yeah, well, there's I don't know where the original came from, and I don't know where
Mhm.
the printed version came from, and
Right.
I don't know. But that's really just not all that horribly uncommon. But the strategic plan,
Mhm.
everybody is hopping on this plan, and they're using it.
Right.
And this is in this plan, if it was used correctly,
Right.
there would be no anxiety in the dinar community.
I agree.
Because what is the title of this plan?
Strategic
This
plan.
is the sustainable strategic, right?
Mhm.
Okay, this is for what is the entire globe doing, Nick? What did they all need to do? These strategic plans were all needed to be turned in by 2015 to the IMF. If you go to the IMF's website, you will see letters of intent and strategic plan for every single member of the IMF.
Right.
This is not a unicorn. It's just not. It's just what is required of all of the members. All right.
Right.
And this is sustainable because why? Where is everybody going, Nick? Where is the entire monetary system going? It's all shifting to the other CBI acronym, which is what? The Climate Bond Initiative.
Mhm.
And I have countless documentation of this. This is where my focus and my study is. And my point being, Nick, is Iraq is not in a bubble. They don't live in a vacuum. They're going to come and do what every single other country is doing. And this is what is written in that strategic plan.
Mhm.
The people of Dinarland got hung up on the part about the currency. They say right in there what I just said before.
Mhm.
They need to have one price. They need to eliminate the parallel market. The only way to do that is restructure the currency. That is the only way you can do that.
You're talking about the black market
And-
exchange rate. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can call it the black market. The actual professional term is the parallel market. That's what
Sure.
it's called. It's a parallel market, and again, it's not unique to Iraq.
No, this happens a lot. North Korea's even got their own parallel currency because they have their official exchange rate, and they have what you can actually get if you go to North Korea and you give them U.S. dollars. They'll give you a significantly larger amount than what the official rate is.
Absolutely.
But some people
And
never
they need
travel.
to close that gap,
Sure.
or
Sure.
they can't come to Forex.
Sure. I'm just going to read you some of the comments. Some of the comments say Kuwait jumped to 347 in the 90s after 1 year. And PM Abadi said early
Where are these
2017.
comments? Where are these comments?
So these are all on YouTube. Stephen O'Neill
Okay, so
saying, Hopium.
Kuwait never jumped anywhere.
Right.
Kuwait never jumped. Kuwait was always at 3 and change. It's a very simple story. I don't know who started this Kuwait revalued crap. This
Dinar,
is the stuff that
it was
gets my blood going up.
I'll tell you what, it was dinar companies. If you look at the old, and I'm not even going to mention the names, but
Well, I don't doubt it.
yeah, look at the old
I don't
dinar
doubt
company.
it.
Yeah, look at the old dinar company websites from 2004 to 2010, and they were all talking about it happened to Kuwait. And then you had the guru start around 2010 pumping Kuwait revalued, but there's actually an article that Kuwait never revalued that I encourage people to read. It's called
Kuwait did not revalue. Kuwait reinstated their original rate. And what they did, and this is if you want to speak about Kuwait, let's speak about Kuwait in relation to Zimbabwe, please.
Sure.
Because what Kuwait did was all of those notes that Iraq had when Iraq invaded Kuwait, they demonetized the Kuwaiti dinar.
Yep.
They distributed the Iraqi dinar. When we took over Kuwait and pushed Iraq back over the border, the banks were closed. They had a list of the notes, of the Kuwaiti notes.
Right.
Those notes were published in the front windows of all of the banks.
Yep.
Those notes were demonetized.
Correct.
So if I had a note that said ABC and it was on the list and it was worth $5, 5 dinar, I walked into the bank, I said, here is your $5. And they gave me another new one that said CDF on it.
Right.
Okay. A new note, but it was the same value.
Correct. They just changed their currency. They had to do that because of what
Correct.
happened with, the Iraq invasion. But we're still here after all these years of conference calls. We still hear the same thing, and that's their two go-to things. I think are the 13303 and Kuwait revalued, and those are their two things.
And I don't even know if you read 13303. There's nothing written in there about currency whatsoever at all. It talks about artifacts.
I know.
Hello, people.
I know.
But the point I'm also making, Nick, is I still say Iraq is going to trade. And I said this on my call last night. They don't have a choice. They're not in a bubble. However, are they going to revalue? I can't say no, because I can't prove it. I can say they're going to come to trade. Can they trade at 1166 or 1200 or 13 or wherever they settle when they trade? Absolutely. They don't need to be $3 or $5. That's silly. Will they ever build to that? I don't know. I really don't know. I can't say yes and I can't say no. But what I can say is I posted a list of 53 countries. And that was only because I got tired after 53. Because we've been studying this for a while.
Sure.
But I put all 53 together and I showed how countries, some did revalue, some did devalue, some did drop zeros, how it all works, and what is the criteria for it. Will Iraq come to $3? Well, you know what? That depends. Will the other countries stay at $3? Once they start dropping pegs, I mean, Saudi's the wealthiest country over there.
Thanks to us.
The real is only 22 cents to the dollar.
Well, we can't see $3 because what would that do? What would the U.S. dollar be worth? What would the purchasing power of a U.S. dollar be
Well, that's another thing with this green finance, and that's another thing with the IMF reforms, and that's another thing with this whole global movement. The pressure needs to come off the dollar. The whole point of this realigning and restructuring, and the whole point of this G20 communique is to realign. You want to talk about GCR? There is no GCR. Wake up. It happened. It's been happening for over 2 years. And as I said, I've got 53 countries, and I can probably give you another 50. This is just what we study. So this is already, it's already realigning. Now, the developed countries, in my opinion, and I never give opinions, Nick, but I'm going to give you a rare opinion of mine. Sure. In my opinion, this whole Brexit nonsense was to take the pressure off the pound. Because how do currencies go up and down? How do they move? What is needed for a currency to go up or down? You need confidence or lack of confidence.
That's the word I wanted to hear, confidence, exactly. If the people lose confidence like they did in Zimbabwe, then what happens? You have a hyperinflation that they overprinted. That was the other thing.
So when you put stuff out that says, we're leaving, we're really leaving, we're leaving the European Union right now, we're on our way out the door, confidence shifts, and the pound dropped.
Huge.
But it only dropped for 3 days.
Yeah.
For 3 days.
Yes.
And now it's very comfortable. So my theory is, how do you take a reserve currency and bring it to, and realign it to where it needs to be without having a runaway freight train? I believe that's how they did it. They just knocked the confidence out of the pound for a little while.
Right.
And now it's where it needs to be, because they still haven't filed their Article 50. Will they do it? I don't know. I don't think we're going to see it anytime soon. They say they are, but who knows? But that's what I think happened there. So the dollar has to do the same thing.
Right.
How can the dollar come down, Nick? How do you take the pressure off the dollar? What has to happen? You can't cause a loss of confidence in the dollar, because you'll never be able to apply the emergency brake on that runaway train. That'll never happen.
Oh, you have too many countries tied to the U.S. dollar. Too many countries are tied to the U.S. dollar. And China. Yeah, people forget.
So what do? So you open 100 trillion plus bond market, which is private capital. Again, not my opinion, documented by so much documentation longer than my legs, which are very long. And you see this, you give them an alternative. With the new capital requirements, with TLAC, with Basel, with all of these, listen to what they have to do.
Sure.
They're going through, combing through their balance sheet. And anything that is able to be green is being refinanced into a new bond market that we're going to see in 2017. This is why this Paris Agreement was so important. And we're going to see this new bond market. It's already, every day, if you just go to your Google and you put in words like green bonds and green finance, every single day you will see someone else moving billions into green bonds.
Absolutely.
You will see banks refinancing out of the current bond market, writing down, yes, there's going to be winners and losers, and moving over. So very soon, this was not meant to compete with treasuries, although it will compete with treasuries, because right now, all of the big money makers of the world, trillions of private capital, is not making yield. They're losing money monthly, right?
Right. Let me ask you, what's your opinion on Bruce and what's your opinion on Dr. Clark? Because a lot of people are talking in the chat. What do you think of those two people?
I would love to be able to make an opinion on Bruce, but I don't know who he is. And I don't know, I don't follow Denarland. Dr. Clark.
I joined the club.
Yeah, because, you know, Denarland doesn't when I was writing and talking about Iraq before I realized the answer's not there in early 2015, there was no Dr. Clark around. The only reason I stepped back into the arena, and there's speculation among some of the hating troll sites, you know, they were posting last night, why did she come back now? Oh, she makes her money when you sell your currency. Why, fool? Am I buying it off of you? How am I making? Whatever. The only reason I came back now is because it all started with that doc and this IEX crapola. And my emails, just like you, I'm getting emails saying, is this true? Is that true? What do you have to say about this? What about this? What about that? And I thought, oh my goodness, let me just send a post into recaps. The only reason I send it into recaps is because that's the only place that I know where I would send anything into anyway.
Sure.
You know, they do a combination of everything. I don't have a website. I don't have a, I have a YouTube channel now, but I didn't have one before yesterday.
Okay.
It's because I don't do these things. It's not my forte.
Right.
So I don't have Dr. Clark. I said this on my call last night. If you guys have such a following, you have a responsibility.
Yes, we do.
And you need to, I don't know what the agenda is, so I can't be judge and jury because I don't have all the facts. I don't know if Bruce has an agenda. I don't know if Dr. Clark has an agenda. I don't know what it is. What I do know is we can blame Dr. Clark and we can kick Bruce. We can do all of that, but at what point do we turn it around onto the community, which is how I depressed people last night apparently, and say, what's wrong with you?
Sure.
How many Monday, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Septembers? You could go back to, I mean, hello guys, 8 years, 9 years, 11 years for some. How many Mondays has that been?
Well, the funny thing is people get so involved with the dinar. It's like I bought it. I didn't see the point of listening to all the calls. I actually gave up. I really didn't understand. I was like, I don't need to hear these calls and waste an hour, 2 hours. I said, I can just research this myself. I can translate it myself. I don't need to waste time on sites. But then I decided, well, fine, I'm gonna go ahead and do this, and I'm gonna translate some stuff. So I went about it a different way than most people. But as for sites like Dinar Recaps and our Guru, I don't see the point, because you can get all that, the real information, the meat and potatoes, you can get on Dinar Daily, you can get on Iraq Currency Watch. Recaps is good if you like to follow the hype, but when you get involved with a currency investment, you don't need to watch it every single day like this, especially this dinar. If something major were to happen, there's so many people connected to others who have this, like that poor gentleman who says he listened to Bruce twice a week, 3 times, 3 years. So I mean, how many calls is that? That's 52 calls, right? 52 calls times two. That's 104. That's too many. I don't listen to any. I listen to some old calls from 2011. so I can get some information. Oh, now a word from our sponsor.
I think Sterling
I
is a
don't-
solid company since I've been working for him.
Okay, that was Tony. Just listen to me.
What?
So,
Oh.
oh no, that was.
I mean,
yeah,
I just wish they would take responsibility, but
absolutely.
I would caution you too. And that site, Dinar Daily, I'm sure they're a very good site, but you know, I had a man on my call last night by the name of Dan who said that his number one thing that he loves to do is to go on and write nasty comments and call these people out and all of this. And I said to
Why?
him, well, Dan, maybe you might want to try something different.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you might want to try arming people with facts and truth
Sure.
instead of spending time with a knot in your stomach. Because in order to spit venom, you have to have it inside. Why don't you let it go
Sure.
and offer them an alternative?
Absolutely.
I'm concerned, Nick, about this man that's very, very depressed.
Well, so do
And
I.
I'm concerned
So do
about
I.
the people that feel that I ruined their day last night.
You might have saved somebody's life. Like, I tried telling a gentleman.
Well, I had a lot of people on the call that said, thank you so much. Oh, my goodness. You know, I have my regular faithful people that if I pop something into recaps, or I was shocked last night at how many people were just so delighted to hear me speak common sense and logic again.
Sure.
But I do have, you know, a regular decent amount of following. But to say, you know, I'm not telling you how to handle your business, but to say you're going to give away dinar, you know, like I told them last night, I said, listen, guys, it's already off your balance sheet. You've already sent the money last year, the year before, 2 years ago, last month, whatever. Put it in a box. Set it in the closet. Is it really going to bother you? I would never, ever say, they asked me, what about the Zimbabwe? I told them that I think it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
Well, that's
The
the right, and
Heritage
that's the
Bond,
right, and
The
that's
New
the right
Republic,
thing
it's
to
all
say.
scammy.
See, that's where we can agree, and that's the right point to have. Is with certain things you just have to call it as it is, and that's one of those things that you have to tell people. Who is giving you this information that a currency that is so worthless that it's put all over billboards over there saying, look at what Mugabe did to us. It's a worthless currency. But everybody in the United States apparently knows better than major financial economists. You're not going to hear one economist say invest in the Iraqi dinar, invest in Zimbabwe dollar, because obviously a lot of them have financial ties to gold and silver. And their newsletters,
and
they
that's where
sell.
I kind of draw the line.
Yeah.
He asked me, should I sell my currency back, my Zimbabwe? I said, well, that's like you, and that's like me asking you, should I paint my bathroom blue?
Right.
You know, I mean, like,
right.
whatever you want to do.
Well, I will.
I'm not in a position to give you that advice.
Right. Well, I will. The only advice I give them is, listen, there's a huge market for Zimbabwe dollars on eBay where people are buying them for like $80 for the 100 trillion notes, which are actually worth zero. I'm not sure if these guys are obtaining these from the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe or what, but you keep seeing these uncirculated notes passing hands, and they were worth 40 cents back in September, but they've become demonetized. I tell people all the time they're absolutely worthless. But listen, I gotta. It's been nice talking to you. I gave my number out. You've got my number, so feel free to email me. We can chat privately sometime. But
I don't have your number. I didn't. Let me take a pen.
Okay. Yeah.
I live by my Bluetooth. Nick, I don't.
We'll do this real quick. So just I have an easy to remember web email address. Let me give you my email address real quick, and I'll give it to everybody so they can email me. How are you listed on? People are asking how you're listed on Facebook, how they find you on Facebook. So maybe you have
I do. I have a link. It's My Ladies, www.facebook.com, MyLadies01.
Okay, let me just add that real quick.
I can drop it into your YouTube. Are they asking you there?
Yeah.
Who's asking you this? Oh,
somebody is. I'm here. I'll drop it. I'll drop it in there right now for Richard. There it is, Richard. Okay, so my email is globalcurrencyreset1@gmail.com.
Currency reset. The whole word, currency reset?
Yeah, all at once. globalcurrencyreset1@gmail.com.
All right.
That's pretty simple. You just email me, and I'll give you my number. You can call up if you want. So,
perfect.
But yeah, okay. So we got your Facebook
but
page.
Just try not to beat them over the head too much, Nick. You know, try not to. Just, you know, I know I'm serious. This is heavy on my heart that I depressed people, and we really don't know. You know, we really do not know what the currency is going to do. We do know it's not going to do what's in our land thinks but we
Yeah.
really do not know what it's going to do.
Absolutely.
And, you want to be careful about being responsible for ruining somebody's day. At least that upsets me. when I
Yeah.
do
Well,
that.
if I can save somebody's life or marriage, I'll whatever I can do to help them out. So, it's been great
I get
talking.
it.
It's been great talking to you. Thanks so much.
All right, you too, Nick. Enjoy your day.
Thanks, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.